He looked at it and keyed some numbers into his computer. He then asked me to put my finger in a machine to get my fingerprint. "Are you sure you were born in India and not Pakistan?" He asked me with a stern-looking face. "Yes, I am," I answered, looking at him puzzled. "What is the purpose of your visit? To be with my wife?" "Where did you meet her?" "Lucknow, India." "Where did you get married?" "India." "How long are you going to be here in the US?" "A few years." After flipping through my passport for the 15th time, he said, "All right, you're good to go." I walked away from him wondering what my passport issued in India suggested that I was born in Pakistan. I was born in Lucknow, which is at least 500 miles away from Pakistani border. I took a deep breath, thankful that the hell was over and that I had finally arrived in the United States of America, the land of the free, the promised land. I'll tell you, I arrived in Charlottesville. I lived here for 8 years. I'm going to tell you what happened here. A few days later, I arrived in Charlottesville. I started getting an urge to explore the city on foot. I decided to discover the place on a beautiful afternoon in the month of September. Leaves were falling on the ground, the breeze was gentle, and the temperature was just right. Even though we had lived near the university, I had seen very little of the campus. I decided to walk around the college and slowly work my way around town. After walking quite a distance away from my home, I was disoriented. I didn't have a cell phone to call my wife, but I knew I could ask someone where my street was. I wanted to walk some more in the hope that I might recognize where I was, so I continued. Some of the streets looked familiar, but I wasn't sure where they were, the ones that led to my home. After some time, I started looking around for a human face to ask directions. I didn't see any. I walked a little more in search of one. Luckily, after some time, I saw a woman coming out of the many houses. She was dressed in shorts, a sports bra, and sneakers. She stretched her arms and legs and started running in the opposite direction. I was surprised by how someone could be so skimpily dressed when I was bundled up to keep myself warm. By the time I stopped wondering, the girl had gotten a couple of 100 meters away from me. Now I was left with two options: either try to run and chase her down or look for somebody else to help. The first option sounded more sensible, as the chances of finding another person seemed almost impossible. Anyway, let's move on to the next passage. A couple of days after Christmas, this is when I went to my wife's family in rural Pennsylvania, and this is the first time I'm meeting her family, and they haven't met me yet. So the couple of days after Christmas, we went to church with Graham and Papa, which is my wife's grandparents. We all rode in their van to Presbyterian church where they had been attending for many years. Holly, my wife, was going to sing in the choir with her mother and Graham. All the members of the choir were dressed in cream-colored robe, and the priest was in long black gown. After the service finished, an older lady came up to me and held my hand and said, "Are you Deepak?" I said, "Yes, I am." She spoke in an old-sounding voice. "Oh, you're so lucky. You got the smartest girl in town." She paused for a moment and looked at me with great attention and then said, "I'm so glad to have met you." I said, "Yes, it's nice to meet you too." As she walked away holding onto her stick, I felt someone put their hand on my shoulder. "Deepak," I said. "Yes." "Oh my gosh, so nice to meet you," said another lady with big eyes, resting her hand on my shoulder. While she stood there, I felt someone grabbing my hand from behind. I turned around to see a third elderly woman. She said, "Are you Holly's husband?" Yes, I said. "You know, I've known Holly since she was a little girl, and I have known Wendy, her mom, since she was a little girl too." Soon I was surrounded by several people whom I had never...
17, please, Kelly, 212.
Okay. Soon I was surrounded by several people whom I had never met, but all of them seemed to know me. I had never been in such a situation where everyone knew me. I hadn't done anything significant in my life to be this famous. Almost everyone in the church knew Holly and her family, and since I was the only brown person there, it was easy for people to know who I was. I heard people whispering, "He's Holly's husband. Isn't he a handsome fella? What a good-looking man." People kept coming at me from all directions, wanting to shake my hand and say hello. It was a strange feeling. People who had already shaken my hand and met me a few minutes ago were directing other people towards me, as if I were an important person. Growing up in Lucknow, India, I had never imagined I would become a part of an American family in rural Pennsylvania. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deepak. Wei Jing?